What if the next election isn't decided by voters, but who controls the system counting the votes? For over 2 centuries, Americans have trusted a single principle: states run elections, and the people choose their leaders. Now that line is being openly challenged. Donald Trump isn't just questioning outcomes anymore. He's floating the idea that logical federal government should step in and take over state elections. That's not a policy tweak, that's a power shift. Today, we're going to break down what is being said, what matters, what happens when election control moves away from the states and closer to one man's influence. Let's dig into this one. This is where President Trump gets direct questions from reporters on nationalizing the elections. Listen to this.
What exactly did you mean when you said that you should nationalize elections, and which 15 states are you talking about?
I want to see elections be honest, and if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway. But when you see some of these states about how horribly they run their elections, what a disgrace it is, I think the federal government, when you see crooked elections, and we had plenty of them, and by the way, we had them last time, but go to 2020 and look at the facts that are coming out. Rigged, crooked elections. If we have areas, take a look at Detroit, take a look at Pennsylvania, take a look at Philadelphia. You go take a look at Atlanta, look at some of the places that horrible corruption on elections. And the federal government should not allow that. The federal government should get involved. These are agents of the federal government to count the votes. If they can't count the votes legally and honestly, then somebody else should take over.
The Constitution says it should be states that administer elections, Mr. President.
Yeah,
That's what the Constitution
you know what?
says.
They can administer the election, but they have to do it honestly.
Are you
As you see there, Trump does not want anybody to get into the midterms and he loses. He doesn't want the Democrats taking over the midterms. And it is, historically speaking, it's been that way. Each administration, the incoming president has losing the midterms. But that's fine. But he's not going to take this sitting down. He's going to consolidate power. One of the things that I see, he's going to take ICE and use them to guard ballot boxes across all these states as one thing minimum. Guard the ballot boxes with ICE agents, masked ICE agents, so that way he can scare away anybody that doesn't look like a white American. Anybody of color would be assumed to be somebody that they can attack, remove, and not have them be able to vote. There's just so much danger approaching this midterms that's never been before in history. Mark my words, this is very dangerous here. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but people got to be aware of what's happening. And it's like, to me, if the Republicans got the rights to win, let them win on the will of the people, but don't let a president change it to where we're going to have a Putin-style election system and only you put in the vote of one name only, and that's what it looks like he wants to do, to have it where there's only one name to put in that ballot box. If you can't do it, it's going to be his name only. And so it's a big risk. I mean, if you don't think so, then fine. But it is. It's going to happen. If you don't want to have a democracy anymore, it's going to be there. It's definitely on its way to heading to a situation where there's going to be absolute power after the midterms. President Trump is wanting to have the Department of Justice to take all the voter data from every state so they can control everything and micromanaging how this midterm elections will be done. They want to purge everybody off the voter rolls that are not U.S. citizen, but that's not right. There's no non-U.S. citizens on voter rolls. They think there is, and they want to purge them, but they're going to purge U.S. citizens off the voter rolls. Let's hear this.
Elections this fall as President Trump says he wants to nationalize elections. Madeline Rivera has more.
If this doesn't concern the heck out of every American, it sure as hell should.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are sounding the alarm following new moves on voting security by the Trump administration. On Monday, the president suggested letting the feds run the upcoming midterm elections. He said in part, quote, "We should take over the voting in at least 15 places," adding the Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. Democrats claim that's part of an ongoing power grab by the White House.
It's very worrisome about what their intentions are in the next election.
The new controversy comes as lawmakers from both parties are asking questions about the recent FBI raid on a Board of Elections warehouse in Georgia. On Monday, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard admitted in a letter to Congress that President Trump, quote, specifically directed her to be present, and she put the president in direct contact with agents in charge of the raid.
What was she doing there? This is Donald Trump's attempt to continue his crazy story about how he won the 2020 election.
And that's the whole point that Trump is doing right now. He's taking the voter rolls from Fulton County, and he's going to do something with those records, which now are tampered with, and try to prove something. It's going to be a wait and see to what magic tricks he's going to try to pull out of his hat. But when you have the director of the DNI, which is looking at intelligence from the outside the United States, to do something like this is very, very dangerous. He called the FBI agents on her phone to thank them for what they've done. This is some serious control from the top all the way down to this deal here. And it shouldn't be taken lightly that he's going to make something out of this so he can threaten to nationalize voting by the federal government. He is going to do this somehow, some way. And the states have got to fight back because it's not constitutional to do this. Voting's always been done by the states. It's never been done by the federal government. And this is going to be very dangerous, especially when the Department of Justice has, threatened, say, the state of Minnesota, for example. Well, we'll pull the ice out if you give us our voter rolls, your voter roll data. Well, that's just not. You don't, threaten people, states, to do what you want just to get them, to give you everything that you're going to want to change the direction of voting in our history of the United States. This is not the right way to do business, but they're doing it. It's very dangerous grounds that they're working on. So people watch this, pay attention, because this is something that is got to be done. The Democrats have got to dig in and do something hard. And the Republicans should be worried about this too. Think of this. What if the next election was all Democrats? They decide, oh, we got voter rolls and we control it, so we can just say what we want. See, it works both ways. We shouldn't allow the government to be manipulating our voting system. For them to say that the voting at the state level is corrupt, our voting system has been great for decades. It's only now that this has come up. It's decades have been a great system. It's been minor hiccups here and there, but it's been a great system. If you consolidate all that power at the top, only the people that stay at the top will run everything. We as the little people won't matter. We'll be at the control of the top. The federal government will manage everything, and it's very dangerous. And here we have the Speaker of the House tiptoeing around this issue of nationalizing elections, and he's claiming it's only blue states that are a problem. Come on, you got to listen to what he's saying. You know, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth, and he can't seem to get his information straight. Listen.
Follow up on elections. The president says that he wants Republicans to nationalize elections. Do you agree with him? And do you have confidence in how elections are conducted right now, heading into the midterm?
We have thoughtful debate about our election system every election cycle and sometimes in between. We know it's in our system. The states have been in charge of administering their elections. What you're hearing from the president is his frustration about the lack of some of the blue states, frankly, of enforcing these things and making sure that they are free and fair elections. We need constant improvement on that front. I don't know what the ultimate solution is going to be. I'm not going to get ahead of the negotiations here, but I think that is something that's going to be a continuing theme here. It's something that we'll continue to push, and we hope the governors will insist upon that same thing as well. In some of the states, like in California, for example, I mean, they hold the elections open for weeks after Election Day. That's just one thing that bothers so many people. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on Election Day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. In no series of ballots that were counted after Election Day were our candidates ahead on any of those counts. It looks on its face to be fraudulent. Can I prove that? No, because it happened so far upstream. But we need more confidence in the American people in the election system, and it's essential. And everybody, no matter what party you're in, should agree with that. The mass mailing of paper ballots or mail-in ballots and all the other irregularities that have haunted us over the last couple of cycles, we need to tighten that up. Now, the red states have done a lot of good work in that front, but it's the blue states that I'm frankly concerned about. So.
Well, he's just pointing to the blue states, and especially he's pointing to California. If they control California, they're going to be able to control the midterms. That is a point right there. And he's talking about, they're probably going to eliminate mail-in voting. It's going to have a big impact if they have their way to doing this federalization of the elections. But hopefully we'll have some folks thinking with some common sense about how this is done and stop the madness. But it's happening right now. I said this in the first video, and I'm saying again now. You've got to watch out what's happening with these folks that have power right now, because they want to consolidate their power, and they're going to do everything crooked in the book to do so. Now, some people will come back and say, oh, it's just, some Democrats, clutching their pearls. Come on, get real. It's not about, because the other way could be flipped real quick. The next, person that takes over that's not a Republican can do the exact same thing. We don't want either side to be controlling power. It's not where we want the government to be controlling our lives in all respect. This is something that the Republicans, from a conservative, aspect, just want a little government in our lives. Look, they're pushing it over the board. So this is the insanity that we need to stop. Now, this is a one-on-one interview going on within the last few hours. President talking from the Oval Office on a multitude of topics, but we're now reaching the point of where he's going to touch on nationalizing the elections here. So let's tune into this one.
Tell the great job that we're doing.
Okay, let's talk about the midterms. You've recently suggested nationalizing elections. What do you mean by that?
And I didn't say national, I said there are some areas in our country that are extremely corrupt. They have very corrupt elections. Take a look at Detroit. Take a look at Philadelphia. Take a look at Atlanta. There are some areas that are unbelievably corrupt. I could give you plenty of more, too. I say that we cannot have corrupt elections. If we have to, if they don't straighten it out. As an example, voter ID. Why don't the Democrats want voter ID? You know who does want voter ID? Democrat voters want it, but Democrat politicians don't. Why don't they want it? Because they want to cheat on elections. Can you imagine if I were a politician and they asked me, do you want voter identification? And I said, no, there's no way you could win that debate.
But even
the Democrats don't want voter ID. If they don't want voter ID, that means they want to cheat. We can't allow cheating in elections. Now, if we need to put in federal controls as opposed to state controls, remember this, they're really an agent. They're really accumulating the votes for who wins an election. If they can't do it honestly and it can't be done properly and timely, then something else has to happen.
Will you trust the results of the midterms if Republicans lose control of Congress?
I will, if the elections are honest. Look, I want the last one that wants to complain. I just had a great election. They say one of the greatest elections.
And now here, I want to say that Trump always says, when he's asked, "Would you be okay at with the results?" And he always says, "Yes, if they're fair," but he's not going to ever say that, because if they're not fair to him, it's not the right way. How many times we've heard this? He's going to tell us, "Oh, I'll agree with everything that comes out of it if it's fair." Then it's only fair to him. And this is where he's like a toddler, starts banging his crib with the bottle and breaking everything. This is so destructive to what he's going to do in the midterms. He's already saying what he's going to do. We have to stop him. Keep him from consolidating control, because he's going to do this. And, you might call it, hey, he's just talking out of his mouth. No. We've known him too long. He's too serious about all this. He knows what he's doing. He can consolidate power. Steve Bannon's even said he's going to do it. And so he's got mechanisms to start putting this in place now. Just how the details are going to work out is the good question. I think he's going to throw something into the mix of, we figured out how the 2020 election was stolen from me. And then we're going to change all of it because of this. And he might say the National Guard seizes all ballot machines, and we'll just go to paper ballots for this midterms and try to shake everything up. And then use ICE, for example, to be out to monitor the polling locations, which would keep all Hispanics, blacks, and people of other minorities from going in to vote because they're afraid. Even if you're a citizen, they'll be scared because they got these masked men that will do potentially harm to them. The last thing you want to do is be an elderly person of a different color, and a couple of masked men grab you and just start beating on you. No one wants that. This all harks back to the 60s and before, with how voting was controlled in the Deep South. So we don't need this, and I hope to God that we don't get going down this path. So if you had a chance to appreciate what I'm trying to do, I'm just a military veteran. I am not a professional, commentator. I'm a person that just tries to call the balls and strikes here as I see it. So if you have some appreciation for it that helps you out, please, subscribe and like the video. I'm doing this out of my heart as a person that wants to do something good in our country here by doing this. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself. As I've always said, take care of your family, take care of your community, and God bless the USA. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay kind, and as always, have a wonderful rowdy. Take good care of yourself and each other. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. I'll see you in the next video.